I hope I deserve this. Truly, I do. I hope I'm wrong. Varys says these words to Tyrion Lannister in Season 8, Episode 5, moments before Daenerys Targaryen burns him alive with dragonfire. His hands are bound. He's standing on the beach at Dragonstone. Grey Worm and the Unsullied surround him. Drogon waits behind Daenerys, ready to execute the spider at her command. Tyrion has just betrayed him. His oldest friend, his partner in countless schemes, the man he worked with to bring Daenerys to Westeros, turned him in for treason. And Varys accepts it, no pleading, no begging for mercy. No attempting to talk his way out like he's done so many times before. Just those quiet, devastating words, I hope I deserve this. Truly, I do. I hope I'm wrong. He's not hoping he deserves execution. He's hoping he deserves to die, because if he deserves it, it means his judgment was wrong. It means Daenerys isn't the tyrant he believes she's becoming. It means the realm won't suffer under her rule. It means his betrayal, spreading Jon Snow's true parentage, plotting to replace her, was unnecessary. He hopes he's wrong about Daenerys, because if he's right, and she kills him anyway, then the realm is doomed, and he failed to stop it. Then Daenerys says the word, Dracarys. Drogon incinerates Varys instantly. The Master of Whisperers, the spider who survived Robert's rebellion, the reign of the Mad King, multiple regime changes, and decades of deadly politics, dies in seconds. And hours later Daenerys proves Varys was right. She burns King's Landing, kills hundreds of thousands of innocent people, becomes exactly the tyrant Varys feared. This scene, Varys's execution, reveals why he failed. Not because he was wrong about Daenerys. He was completely right. But because the very skills that kept him alive for decades were the wrong tools for this moment. Varys was the master of information, manipulation, and long-term planning. But what the situation required was immediate action, open confrontation, and the willingness to act decisively before it was too late. Let's examine how Varys's execution exposes his fatal flaw, why his greatest strengths became his greatest weaknesses, and what this scene reveals about the cost of playing the game too carefully when the stakes demand boldness. The Spider's philosophy, serving the realm. To understand why Varys failed, you have to understand his operating philosophy. Throughout Game of Thrones, Varys consistently claims he serves the realm, not any particular king or queen. He's not loyal to individuals. He's loyal to the idea of good governance, of protecting the common people from the chaos created by ambitious nobles. I serve the realm, he tells Ned Stark in Season 1. Someone must. This isn't just rhetoric. Varys genuinely believes that his manipulations, his schemes, his information networks, all of it serves a higher purpose, creating stability and protecting the powerless from the powerful. He supported Robert Baratheon when Robert was king. Then he worked for Joffrey, despite knowing Joffrey was a monster, because removing Joffrey would have thrown the realm into chaos. He helped Tyrion when Tyrion was hand, because Tyrion was competent and tried to protect people. And when he met Daenerys Targaryen, he believed he'd finally found what he'd been searching for, a ruler who genuinely wanted to make the world better. Someone with power, dragons, armies, and a stated mission to break the wheel and liberate the oppressed. So Varys brought Tyrion to her. He helped her plan the invasion of Westeros. He served as her Master of Whisperers. He advised her, guided her, tried to moderate her worst impulses. But throughout this service, Varys was always watching, always collecting information, always evaluating whether she truly was the ruler the realm needed. And slowly, carefully, methodically, Varys began to see troubling signs. The warning signs Varys noticed. Varys wasn't blind to Daenerys' flaws. In fact, he saw them more clearly than almost anyone because he was specifically looking for them. In Meereen, Daenerys crucified 163 masters without trial. Varys noted this. It was brutal, arguably excessive, but perhaps justified as response to the master's cruelty. When dealing with the Tarleys, Daenerys burned Randyell and Dickon Tarley alive and they refused to bend the knee. Varys watched this. He saw her offer them the choice, kneel or die. When they chose death, she burned them with dragonfire, rather than taking them prisoner or sending them to the wall. This troubled Varys. Prisoners have value. You can negotiate with them, use them politically, show mercy to win loyalty. But Daenerys chose immediate execution by fire, the method her father, the Mad King, preferred. After the Battle of Winterfell, when Daenerys was grieving Jorah and Missandei, becoming increasingly isolated and paranoid, Varys saw her changing, becoming harder, less willing to listen to counsel, more focused on taking the Iron Throne by force. When Jon's true parentage was revealed, Varys saw how Daenerys reacted, with fear, with possessiveness, with desperate attempts to suppress the truth. She didn't see Jon's claim as something to negotiate or accommodate. She saw it as an existential threat, and Varys realized, Daenerys will burn King's Landing if necessary to take the throne. She'll sacrifice the people she claims to want to liberate in order to seize power. So Varys made his decision. He would betray Daenerys and support Jon Snow instead. But he made this decision too late, and he executed it too carefully. The fatal flaw, information over action. Varys spent decades surviving through information and careful manipulation. He gathered secrets, he built networks, he influenced events from the shadows, he never acted directly or openly. This approach worked brilliantly for most of his life, but it was exactly the wrong approach for dealing with Daenerys Targaryen. He spread Jon's secret instead of convincing Jon directly. Varys' strategy was to make Jon's parentage public knowledge, creating pressure for Jon to take the throne. He wrote letters to lords across Westeros, revealing that Jon was Aegon Targaryen, the true heir. But this passive approach failed because Jon didn't want the throne. Making the information public didn't change Jon's mind. It just alerted Daenerys that Varys was plotting against her. He tried to poison Daenerys, but hesitantly. The scene opens with a little girl, Martha, one of Varys' little birds, reporting that Daenerys isn't eating. Varys says, "We'll try again at supper." This suggests he's attempting to poison her through her food, but it's half-hearted, indirect, uncertain. If Varys truly believed Daenerys was a threat to the realm, he should have acted decisively, hired an assassin, convinced Jon to arrest her, organized a coup. Instead, he tried subtle poisoning while hoping it would work. He told Tyrion his plans. This is Varys' most catastrophic error. He trusted his oldest friend with his betrayal, hoping Tyrion would join him, or at least stay silent. But Tyrion's loyalty to Daenerys was stronger than his friendship with Varys. Tyrion immediately reported the conspiracy to Daenerys, and this betrayal happened because Varys still operated like he was playing the careful, long-term game. He assumed he could convert Tyrion through logic and persuasion. He assumed their friendship would protect him. He assumed he had time. He was wrong on all counts. The conversation that sealed his fate. Before Varys' execution, he and Tyrion have one final conversation that perfectly encapsulates why Varys failed. Tyrion confronts him. "She trusts me." "Yes, she trusts you. She trusted you to spread secrets that could destroy your own queen, and you did not let her down." Varys doesn't deny it. Instead, he tries to convince Tyrion one last time. "I've served tyrants most of my life. They all talk about destiny. She's different. She's the mother of dragons. She has a claim to the throne. She has a large army. But she's different because she's a queen. She's a ruler. She's a conqueror." But even as he says this, he realizes he's losing the argument. He's trying to use logic and reason to convince Tyrion that Daenerys is dangerous. But Tyrion loves Daenerys. Logic doesn't matter when emotion is involved. And Varys realizes too late that he should have acted first and talked later. Instead, he talked first, got reported, and now faces execution before he could accomplish anything meaningful. This is the pattern of Varys' failure. He saw the problem clearly, he understood the stakes, he knew what needed to be done, but he approached it like it was another political game where information and careful maneuvering would be enough. It wasn't. Daenerys required someone willing to act decisively and immediately. Varys wasn't that person. The execution. Accepting failure. When Grey Worm comes to arrest Varys, the spider doesn't fight, doesn't try to escape, doesn't attempt to talk his way out. He removes his rings carefully, placing them on his desk. These rings might have contained poison for suicide, or perhaps they're just symbols of his position. Either way, removing them is an acceptance of his fate. He walks to his execution calmly. When he sees Tyrion on the beach, He doesn't rage at his friend's betrayal. He just looks at him with sad understanding. "Goodbye, old friend," Tyrion says, his voice breaking. Varys says nothing to Tyrion. What is there to say? Tyrion chose love over wisdom, loyalty over the realm. It's a choice Varys doesn't agree with, but he understands it. Then he faces Daenerys. She announces his sentence. "I, Daenerys of House Targaryen, first of my name, breaker of chains and mother of dragons, sentence you to die." And Varys delivers his final words. "I hope I deserve this. Truly, I do. I hope I'm wrong." This is Varys accepting that he failed. Not accepting that he was wrong about Daenerys, he knows he's right, but accepting that his methods failed, that his careful planning, his information networks, his decades of experience playing the game from the shadows, none of it was enough. He hopes he deserves to die, because if he deserves it, it means Daenerys is just and wise and won't become a tyrant. But he knows the truth. He sees it in her eyes. She's already becoming the thing he feared, and he failed to stop it. Drogon's fire consumes him instantly. The spider dies, and with him dies the last chance to prevent the coming massacre. What Varys should have done. Looking back, Varys's failure becomes tragically obvious. He should have acted sooner. The moment Daenerys burned the Tarlys alive, Varys should have recognized the pattern. The Mad King burned people who displeased him. Daenerys was doing the same. He should have convinced Jon directly. Instead of spreading secrets and hoping public pressure would force Jon to act, Varys should have had a frank conversation with Jon. "Daenerys is becoming a tyrant. You're the better claim. You're the better ruler. The realm needs you to step forward." He should have organized a coup. Varys had connections throughout Westeros. He could have coordinated with northern lords, with the unsullied officers who might have doubts, with anyone who could physically prevent Daenerys from burning King's Landing. He should not have told Tyrion. This was the fatal error. Varys knew Tyrion loved Daenerys. He knew Tyrion would struggle with divided loyalties. He should have kept his plans secret from someone he couldn't fully trust. He should have been willing to become the villain. Varys spent his life operating from the shadows, never taking personal responsibility for his actions. But this moment required someone willing to step into the light, to publicly oppose Daenerys, to risk everything, including his reputation. But Varys couldn't do any of this, because all of it required him to be someone other than who he was, a careful manipulator who influenced events through information rather than direct action. And that's why he failed. The proof of his failure. Hours after Varys dies, everything he feared comes true. Daenerys attacks King's Landing. The city surrenders, the bells ring signaling capitulation, and Daenerys burns it anyway. She destroys the city she came to liberate. She kills hundreds of thousands of innocent people, the very people Varys spent his life trying to protect. Jon Snow watches in horror as the woman he loves commits genocide. Tyrion, who betrayed Varys to protect Daenerys, watches his queen become a mass murderer. Arya Stark barely escapes the destruction. Everything Varys predicted happens exactly as he feared. If he'd acted sooner, more decisively, with less concern for playing the game carefully, he might have prevented it. But he didn't, so the realm burned while the man who saw it coming died unable to stop it. Why Varys's approach worked for decades but failed now. The tragic irony of Varys's failure is that his methods had worked brilliantly for his entire career. Under the Mad King, Varys survived through careful neutrality and information gathering. He didn't oppose Aerys directly. That would have gotten men killed. He just gathered intelligence and positioned himself to serve whoever came next. During Robert's rebellion, Varys smoothly transitioned to serving the new regime. He made himself valuable to Robert, provided intelligence on threats, and secured his position. Under Robert Joffrey and Tommen, Varys continued the same pattern: gather information, influence from the shadows, never act directly, always survive to serve another day. This approach made Varys one of the longest-serving members of the Small Council. Kings and hands came and went. Varys remained. But Daenerys was different. She had dragons. You can't manipulate someone with overwhelming military power the same way you manipulate courtiers and politicians. Dragons are a force that demands immediate confrontation or immediate submission. She believed in destiny. Varys could usually work with people motivated by self-interest, ambition, fear. But Daenerys believed she was chosen by fate to rule. This made her less susceptible to careful manipulation. She was willing to destroy rather than negotiate. Traditional power players in Westeros wanted to win, but they also wanted to rule something after they won. Daenerys, increasingly, was willing to burn it all down if she couldn't have it on her terms. The timeline was compressed. Varys usually had years to work, to slowly influence events, to build networks, and create leverage. But Daenerys' descent happened in weeks. There wasn't time for careful manipulation. Varys was a master of the long game, but Daenerys' tyranny required someone who could act in the short term, decisively and openly. And Varys couldn't adapt fast enough. The cost of being right too late. The saddest part of Varys' failure is that he was completely right. Daenerys did become a tyrant. Jon did have the better temperament to rule. The realm would have been better served with Jon on the throne. Everything Varys believed was accurate, but being right doesn't matter if you can't act on that knowledge effectively. Varys saw the danger. He warned people. He tried to prevent it. And he failed because he used the wrong methods at the wrong time. This is the tragedy of his character. He was the smartest person in the room. He understood what was happening better than anyone, and he died unable to prevent the disaster he saw coming. Because intelligence without decisive action is just prophecy, and prophecy doesn't save anyone. The final truth: I hope I deserve this. Truly, I do. I hope I'm wrong. These words reveal everything about why Varys failed. He hopes he's wrong, because if he's right, if Daenerys really is becoming a tyrant, and he's failed in his life's mission to protect the realm. He hopes he deserves death, because the alternative is worse, dying right while unable to prevent catastrophe. Varys spent decades playing the game brilliantly. He survived when bolder men died. He influenced kings from the shadows. He protected himself through information and careful manipulation. But when the moment came that required boldness over caution, direct action over subtle influence, immediate confrontation over patient strategy, Varys couldn't change who he was. He remained the spider, operating from shadows, gathering information, trying to manipulate rather than act. And the realm burned because of it. Varys didn't fail because he was wrong about Daenerys. He failed because being right wasn't enough. He needed to be willing to step into the light, to act decisively, to risk everything immediately. Instead, he played the careful game one more time, and by the time the pieces were in position, it was too late. The Master of Whispers died whispering warnings no one would hear in time. That's why Varys failed. Not from lack of wisdom, but from an inability to change his methods when the situation demanded it. And hundreds of thousands of innocents paid the price for his failure.